everyone. This is Conversations with Eileen, episode number 12. We've done so many, I actually lost count the last couple of times, but I'm absolutely sure tonight is number 12. So we've talked about a lot of different issues. We've highlighted a lot of individuals. Something's coming up that I thought is very important to have a discussion in the community, because I think we become somewhat complacent and we think this will never happen to me. Unfortunately, it happened to a very good friend of mine, and it has stayed with me for many, many years, going through it with her in somewhat of a fashion. So with Fire Prevention Week coming up, October 3rd through the 9th, I thought it would be a good idea to talk to a couple of individuals on things that we as homeowners can do to be proactive. And I am so lucky that I had someone say, yes, I will do this because I agree with you. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. I am lucky enough to call him friend. His name is Dan Ratkewitch. You may all know him through his lovely wife, Christina. They own the Allstate agency on New Bridge Road. So let's bring him on. And here is Dan.
Hey.
The man.
How are you?
I'm great, Dan. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You and I had a conversation prior to the reasoning why I felt it was very important. And I don't know if you know the full story. So several years ago, a very good friend of mine called me. I was at home with the kids, and all she said was, Eileen, I need you. And I jumped in my minivan. That's how long it was. And I raced to her house, and there was a fire truck in front of her house. And they said, you can't go down the road. And I said, yes, I can. And I literally went around the fire truck. And the kids and I jumped out of the car. Our kids were the same age, very, very close-knit family. And I just remember seeing her and running to her and grabbing her. And that was Robin Fitzpatrick. She did the first podcast with me. And it almost brings tears to my eyes because it was such an emotional event. And it was complete devastation. And it was, believe it or not, from an ornament that shorted out on their lawn.
Oh.
And
okay.
So she had to then figure out, what do I do? What's step one? And I think, as I mentioned earlier, we never think it can happen to us, right?
Yep. That's my life. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that all day. It can't happen. As being an insurance agent, right. It's something that we see all the time, and it's something that we try and protect people from it. And we hear that, all too often. It's not going to happen. I'm a good driver, or I'm safe, but it happens. So
I am very proactive. I make sure that, I unplug things. I'm one of those little crazy people, but I also know that going to work and having my children being in the home, even though they were young adults, I know that they're on their computer and I could just never live with myself. So I don't even know the do's and maybe the don'ts, or what's the first step. Like what does a homeowner do? Step one, in preparation for any catastrophe, whether it's a fire, whether it's a flood. We had a really bad, almost hurricane last year where the power went out. We need to be prepared. And you're the expert.
Yeah, we see a lot of this. We put a lot of this information out. The Allstate Foundation does a great job, too, of helping prepare the community with a lot of different supplies and information. One of the things that we like to do around hurricane season, it's not, around fires, but this kind of works for any kind of disaster or emergency. is to have that go bag. We kind of started hearing about that word go bag around 9/11 and be ready to just grab your stuff and go. And that kind of works with every situation, whether it's a hurricane, a fire, or emergency. You want to have that go bag of important things. We have hurricane preparedness kits that we put together with our customers.
Really?
One of the things, if you think about, you think about that house fire in the middle of the night, you think about having to evacuate your house because of a storm. What do you want in that bag? And some of the things that we prepare is one of those aluminum blankets, those emergency blankets they're tiny. You can just unfold them, put them on you if you need something like that. There's a whistle in that kit in case you're under, your house collapsing on you or something like that. So there's a whistle, so you can call for, help while, if God forbid it's the worst and you're over there trying to dig through something. There's mini first aid kits and hand sanitizer. And gloves, rubber gloves, something that's an important thing to have in that emergency kit as well.
It's very scary because in the moment you have to take that second and take that bag. Would you suggest maybe having the bag in your vehicle and ready to go?
Yeah, we have a version of this bag in each one of our cars. We have one that's in the closet that's right at the front door that we can just grab. My son has a severe peanut allergy, so we have to make sure that he has his EpiPens. And so we have a spare one in there that we can just grab and go. So we always make sure that we have that going with us that in there. But definitely, I would keep them in the cars. And it's nothing where you have to have anything major expensive in there, but you have some of those basics in there that the things that you think that you might need at 2:00 in the morning, standing on your front lawn while you're waiting for emergency services to come and save everything, that you might need. And you think about, something to keep warm if that's a situation. If, you may want to put a bottle of water in there is another thing that's an important thing.
Right. Now, in terms of, I know from my friend, her insurance company asked her, okay, list us everything you own. And she went,
yeah.
I own a toaster.
What kind of toaster is it? When was it bought? Does it also heat, a slice of pizza, or is it just the kind? Yeah. So anytime there's like a major claim, something like that, and unfortunately we've seen it at our agency a couple times. Right. And no matter how great everything is, it's still a headache. You don't want to deal with something like this. But the first thing the insurance company is going to ask you, besides "Are you all right?" Is for a list of everything that was damaged. And if you think of a major house fire, something to that extent, you're not going to remember every single one of your knickknacks. You're not going to remember all that stuff, that important thing that's in your junk drawer, all those different things to try and list out. And you want to make it as easy as possible for the insurance company to pay you and pay you quickly. So with that list, one of the things that we always recommend to our customers, is especially now, we all have a phone with a camera and a video on there. So back in the day, we would say, take a Polaroid camera and take pictures of your stuff and put it in a safe deposit box in the bank somewhere outside of the house that wouldn't get destroyed. But these days with the cloud and everybody having something like this, you can walk around your house room by room with a video and just go around everything that you have in there. So if you ever, hopefully you never have to, but if you ever have to write that list of everything that was in your house, it'll make it a lot easier to be able to say, oh, there's that lamp, there's that little thing that Aunt Susie gave me, there's all that stuff you'll be able to put down in there a lot easier. There's apps that you can use for inventory also that you can download. Yeah, there's a lot of free apps on there. Allstate also has their version of the app where you can go room by room and take pictures and basically have an inventory of what you have in your house.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I just bought a TV. Ask me what brand it is. I don't know. I don't know. How much did it cost? I don't know. Is there, or maybe it's on this app, is it a good checklist of You have 3 TVs. You have 4 TVs. In room 1, do you have a 65-inch, whatever, Westinghouse, Samsung, whatever.
Yeah. You can put as much detail or as little detail as you want on these, and the apps are great. There's plenty of them. You don't have to use any one in particular. You can even just write it down on paper and write down everything that you have in the rooms, or while you if your receipts too. If you keep your receipts, you can also take pictures of those receipts, keep them in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about them. But if you're not somebody that has, a smartphone, that's not, you're not something that is your speed, you can always write it down. You can always take pictures of it, and keep that outside of the house, because the last thing you want to do is spend all that time, write that stuff down, and it's destroyed in whatever disaster that.
Right. Or if you're really, as basic, I tell my son, and my daughter, get a manila envelope, put it in your glove compartment, any receipts for your vehicles, put it in there. That's maybe another good idea. Just to have your receipts someplace, as you said. But I think that we're all of the mindset of, it's never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to worry about it. Except I am fortunate to have some personal items that really have a lot of memories for me, and I would be devastated to lose them. I have some things from my great-grandfather. I have some things from my grandmother, and unfortunately, those things, might be irreplaceable. However, you can be your best advocate in doing all that you can do to at least itemize things. And as you said, take pictures is a good idea. Because, a catastrophe comes in many forms. Fire, right? Water.
Yep.
Hurricane. And I remember a couple of years ago over on Powers, there was a gentleman who was working on his oil burner, and it did not work out well. He had an explosion, and at the time there were two students in the house, and they literally ran out of the house with the clothes on their back. So you're now at the mercy of, I got to get my thoughts together. My kids need clothes. They have to go back to school. My husband has to work, and I'm in my slippers and my pajamas. And it really is scary. The other thing that really scares me, Dan, is propane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Propane is so flammable, and that could be like a match.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely is scary. Surprisingly, I mean, I personally haven't seen a tremendous amount of like propane, but I know it happens. I mean, I know it happens. The biggest cause of house fires is from cooking, and in that is from unintended cooking. So that's one of the things that, one of the tips that we're always talking about, and it's common sense, but you know what? It's a good reminder. If you're cooking something, don't run out into the backyard. If you got something on the stove, don't run upstairs and go take care of something, even if it's for a second, because you never know if something can boil over, put the flame out if you've got gas. So, if you're going to run outside for a second to, go to the bus stop or something like that, shut the fire off, shut the flame, shut the stove off, shut the oven off, then come back in. It's not going to come out as good as it was, but it's life. It's more important to have a screwed up meal than it is to have a screwed up house. So that's one of the biggest things to really keep an eye on is cooking, and we know that, but it's a good reminder. So next time we're walking away from the stove, like, hang on a second, let me just shut it off.
Yeah. Now, do you recommend people reevaluate their homeowners policy. I mean, that's probably a good idea to make sure that you have, for example, maybe you got a lot of jewelry gifts in a year. Do you have a rider on your policy? Things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you want to review at least once a year with your insurance agent. If anything changes in between there, you do get some jewelry for Christmas or something like that, you get a different gift. Always, run it past your insurance company and see if that's something that should be added on there. Because something that you bring up the jewelry on there. A lot of times jewelry is only covered up to a certain amount on your regular policy. And then you'd have to add on a rider or something like that to make sure it's covered. So that's something that you always want to check in on. Right now, a lot of the insurance companies in our time, right now are raising automatically the dwelling coverage because lumber is at like an all-time high right now. So yeah, and it costs more to rebuild our house than it did last year or 2 years ago. So a lot of the companies automatically have a coverage on there that will automatically raise your dwelling coverage as that occurs. But you'll check in and with your insurance company, make sure that your policy is keeping up with the amount that it does cost to rebuild your house today. Because the last thing you want to do is have a major house fire and then find out that you were underinsured because it didn't, you're still insuring your house for what it cost back in 2005.
Right.
And, there's a lot more, expenses these days. And the other thing, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dan. You go.
The other thing is important with what we're talking about is there's a coverage that it's not on any of the fancy commercials or anything like that. It's not a sexy coverage on there. It's loss of use or additional living expenses. Check your homeowner's insurance policy. It's on homeowners policies. It's on condo policies if you own a condo or a co-op. It's on renters insurance policies if you're renting. And what loss of use does is it is going to pay for you to stay in a hotel that night while the house was destroyed. So God forbid you had a fire, you can't live in the house. What do? I don't have family here. We just moved here a little while ago, or I can't bother somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's coverage on your property policy that will pay for you to live somewhere else while your home is being rebuilt. Okay. And that's important, especially now with everything that we have going on with quarantining. If we have to quarantine, if we have to stay at home, we want to be comfortable where we are living right now. So if our house is destroyed, you want to make sure you have enough money in that loss of use coverage or additional living expense coverage. So you don't have to worry about having to, live in, something that you're not going to be comfortable with, because we're going through enough these days. You don't need, on top of that, another thing on top of that.
Right.
But that's what pays for, if you need to get clothes, that night you need to get back on your feet. You need to somewhere to live. They will go to the extent, if you have the proper coverage, that they will rent a house in the neighborhood and furnish that house for you. So you're in a house. We've had customers that, we had an older customer that, had a whole house fire, and they put the couple up in a Marriott. And you think that would be great, having room service and daily housekeeping. It gets old real quick. They wanted to make breakfast on their own. So they were moved to one of those extended stay places where they had a little kitchen. It still wasn't comfortable. So the insurance company went and rented a house in the neighborhood. They were able to stay with their neighbors and with their community and have that support. They felt connected, and didn't have to, be in a bad situation there, even worse.
Well, I have to tell you, that last point that you made was something that Robin was able to take advantage of. She was able to rent an entire house, and it took almost a year for her to have the construction done on her house. A year. Can you imagine being displaced from your home for a year? I mean, it's, you can't even realize. And, I go back to, I don't want to say we're complacent. I just want to say that we think, not me. until it's you. And then you have to have the information that's necessary to take step one. And that's why I felt it was so important to talk about this, because we do have Fire Prevention Week coming up. And of course, they concentrate on, total loss due to fire. But there are many other ways that you can suffer devastation to your dwelling. It's not just fire. And I really thought you would be, the perfect person to kind of, kick us off. And I want you to shake your finger at everyone and say, now, Dan Ratkewitch told you there's apps and there's a lot of different ways that you can inventory your belongings and to make sure you do it. And, especially for the younger kids, they're losing their toys, they're losing their video games. And while they may not seem important to us as parents, listen, you both got out alive, or you got out alive, and, we're together. You can't speak for the value of, what it means to have your favorite stuffed animal lost. And we need to think about those things. And I think it's just being very proactive and taking pictures and videos and listing your items. And yeah, it takes a little bit of work, but I say the perfect time of year to do this is once a year, Fire Prevention Week. Itemize your belongings, itemize the things that are important to you, your new television. I wish I could say, that 5-carat ring that I got that I need to ride around, but that didn't happen.
Not yet.
But both my children have, their own personal belongings. My daughter has a very expensive computer. She was a chemical engineer student, and that was a $3,000 computer, and that has a value. And I would hope that moving forward, if something should happen to my home, that would be covered. And so what I'm going to do this weekend is I am going to inventory every single room.
And that's great. And you don't even have to go to that extent, because that sounds daunting, and that's great. And if you can,
have you met me?
If you can find some time, order some pizzas. Let's go. If you can find time to do that's great. But start with a picture. Just take your phone. It's going into the cloud. Start with a picture. Just take it around the room. If you have the time, do it. But if not, just right now, finish watching this podcast and then walk around and just snap. And here's one snap in bedroom. A quick picture will give you more than no picture. And this way you have a picture of your room and you can see everything that's in the different rooms. And then you can build off of there and keep going from there.
And I was going to say, once you get, that kind of foundation, okay, well, you know what? I listened to Dan and I took my pictures, and I'm going to look at my basement. I was fortunate enough many years ago to be given a pool table, and we just had it refurbished. So come on over and play pool sometimes. We'll have a lot of fun. But it'll also reminds me that I have a television in that room, and I have a beautiful TV stand that I bought last year, and it'll remind me of that, and it reminds me of things that are in the closet. And I think that's a good way. I think that's a good start. So listen to Dan. Be like Dan. Be like Dan and take pictures, because the last thing that we want to really hear is, and this community is great. And I always say that, we get a call for help. I heard there was a fire on Powers 2 nights ago. Did you hear that?
I did. Yeah, I saw that.
I heard it was bad, and I heard that there was a student. So I'm trying to get more information, because, as a community, we always come out. I think that's one of the most unique things about our community is it's never like crickets. It's never like, somebody making a post, my neighbor's house collapsed, a tree fell on it or whatnot, and they're displaced and they need items. Who can help? It's a thread of 250. What do you need? What do you need? Do you take Venmo? Can I Zelle you? Can I drop off a check? What can I do? And I want to say, all those years ago when Robin's house caught on fire, and I didn't know what to do. And I just started, reaching out to people, and it was right around the holidays, and they actually stayed at the Extended Inn in Plainview. And I corralled about 25 of our friends, and I printed out Christmas carols.
Oh.
And we went and we sang Christmas carols to them.
That's cool.
Because I thought, if anybody needs a lift right now, it's this family. And if you know her husband, John, he's a very, he's a quiet man. He's very reserved, and he's kind of, just quiet, and he teared up. And
that's a lot of moving. I mean, you talk about our community. I have to tell you, I was talking to a customer a couple weeks ago who transplanted from California, and it was after the storms that we had, and she was talking about how her neighbors were helping her with everything. She just moved from California, and she thought California was great, but she goes, Dan, there's nothing like Long Islanders, and there's really nothing like people in Nassau County, the way that they, just come together and help each other. And she's like, it's like nothing I've seen anywhere else. And I'm like, and she's like, what is it about you guys that does it? And I said, I don't know. It's just, I think that's who we are. I think what we've been through as a community, from 9/11 to all the storms and everything that we are through. We have to look out for each other. We stick up for each other. We, watch out and help each other. And I think that's something really special that I was reminded of specifically our community. Even, New York is great and all that, and Long Island is great, but really narrowing it down to our area here. I know. And, Dan, you're one of the nicest guys I know. And I mean that from my heart. That makes me uncomfortable. Thank you for saying that. I don't take compliments well, but thank you. I appreciate that. You really are. I think you're a great man, and I think you're a great father, and you're a great community member. And I want to thank you for all the things that you do. Thank you. Thank you. Christina's very lucky. Yes. I agree with that. But I'm more lucky. You've got a spicy girl there. Yes. You got a spicy girl there. Yep. Okay. So any last minute, I want to give you the last word. This is a great opportunity. It's a reminder. You know all this stuff. You know we should be doing this stuff. Just do something. Take something that we talked about and just make one little change. Do one little thing. Check your insurance policy. Make sure you have the right coverage. Make sure that next time you're cooking, don't leave it unattended. Make sure you keep an eye on that. Look out for your neighbors and just help each other. And let's, if somebody needs something, give them a hand. We always do. Yep. That's who we are. Yep. And that's why I'm so proud of our community. All right. Well, you have been the best. I knew you were going to bring it, and you exceeded my expectations, but that's no surprise. Thank you for having me. I really am. I'm glad for the opportunity. Thank you. I couldn't think of anyone more that I wanted to have this conversation with. So thank you. You're the best. Thank you. All right, go back and enjoy your family, okay? All right, you too. And listen, we will we'll catch in soon. I want to stop in and say hello. It's been too long. All right. Yeah. Yep. All right, Dan Ratkewitch. He owns the Allstate agency on New Bridge Road.
and he's a community member. And if you don't know, his wife gives back tremendously to the community. So thank you.